All right, good evening, adventurers. It is Wednesday. Time for Tavern Talks, the Shifty Boar. Eventually, yes, we are going to try to expand on this show a little bit here in the future. Looking for a permanent co-host for the stream here on the Master Dungeons Twitch channel. But until then, while we're still searching, we've been going over the past couple of weeks, and we've got a couple more to go after this one. Going over the new playtest material for One D&D, the Unearthed Arcana. That Wizard of the Coast put out for the new books that are coming out next year, 2014, for the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. As they've been saying multiple times, it's going to be backwards compatible with 5th edition. So we're looking at the third installment of the Unearthed Arcana series. This one is dealing with the cleric and some of the revised species. Instead of using the term race with the new books and such, they're going to be moving to using the term species instead. So your species would be an orc or elf, for example. With this, all the rules for this playtest, you use the 2014 Player's Handbook, except where noted, which if they have new rules or anything of that nature, they will have them in the bottom or the last few pages of this PDF. You can find this PDF on their Wizards of the Coast D&D website. You can find it on D&D Beyond as well. You can download it there. Plus, if you click below here on the Twitch channel, in the About Us section, you can get a link to our Discord server for our community, the Master of Dungeons community Discord server, and we have all of them posted there as well, so you can download them. So let's go ahead and dig into this cleric and revised species. I have not seen it at all. I've just downloaded them and haven't had a chance really to look through them, so that's what we're doing. So obviously this is the new cleric class with the life domain. As we mentioned last week when we were looking through the expert classes, they've kind of divided them up into experts, warriors, priests, and casters. So this is going to be discussing the priest with the life domain. And then it's going to be discussing, it looks like, 3 revised species, the Ardling, the Dragonborn, and the Goliath. And of course, the rules that aren't in the player's handbook will be in the glossary at the end of this Unearthed Arcana article. Talks about playtesting the material, incorporating your campaign. Use short adventures from like Journeys to the Radiant Citadel or Kennegeek Mysteries. If you're interested in trying some of this, if you had a chance to play with some of the One D&D rules with the new playtest material, as I mentioned, every month I run games with Baldwin Games and Wizard of the Coast for our virtual D&D weekends. Next week is Origins. It starts next Wednesday and runs through Sunday. There's not really a online component anymore for Origins. So we are running our virtual D&D weekend that same weekend, that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can actually go to the yawningportal.dnd. It's the Yawning Portal on the Wizards of the Coast website for tickets for those events. And you can actually sign up for playing some of the One D&D playtest material. Okay, if there's 5 playtesting, they'll adjust the power. And the feedback, of course, again, I haven't found didn't really look at the feedback. Not really looking at what is exactly going to be in the book, just getting some ideas of what they're doing with the what they're looking at for changing around. Some stuff is okay. Some stuff we've seen so far is maybe needs to be changed, maybe not. But they're going to be going through all the classes. They're going to be going through all of the 48 subclasses, 4 for each class, new spells and feats, new weapons, all of those things like that. New revised monsters. Okay, so the class, of course, the primary ability. Here's the groups that we were talking about. Mages, that was the other one, not casters. Experts, mages, priests, and warriors. So each one of your classes basically falls into one of those, of your 12 fall into one of those four categories. Of course, they did change the magics. There's arcane magic, divine magic, and primal magic. Of course, the artificer is also an expert class. So 13 classes, I guess. Probably not going to do much adjusting with the artificer, as it was playtested a lot. It was put through Eberron, obviously put in Eberron first. They had the multiple versions of the articles that came out in the Unearthed Arcana, different um, installments in the past. So they're probably not changing a whole lot of that. Maybe just a few wordings here and there. If it even gets reprinted in the New Player's Handbook, we'll see. Because I'll probably just stick with just the initial 12. Class equipment, class features, subclass. We all pretty much are familiar with all of those. All classes have new features as well as revised versions of old features. Old 2012 features have been moved to 18, which we saw last week. All right, so again, just a cleric. We all know what clerics are. We're familiar with D&D. It's a priest group. Primary score is wisdom, of course. Let's see here. Armor training is a new thing that they're doing now. That's underlined, so it'll be explained later on. We have blessed strikes, of course, divine intervention, and now your greater divine intervention, when it automatically succeeds, is 18th level now, which is pretty cool. Same feats. They've gone to pretty much as we saw last week with the ranger and such. All the classes are going to be preparing. It doesn't appear as if they're going to. When you get to this level, you learn a couple of new spells. It looks as if what they're doing is having everyone have access to all of the spells that are in your class list, and you just have to prepare them like other classes, just like a priest and a wizard have to prepare their spells, or cleric and a wizard have to prepare their spells. Even sorcerers, warlocks, and stuff like that. It seems to be heading in that direction. D8 still. Civil weapons. We're training light and medium armor and shields. Of course, you're starting equipment. It's been going through. It'd be interesting to look at the life cleric to see how that's going to change a little bit, because I believe life clerics, war clerics at the first level or third level, I think they ended up getting heavy armor. Okay, your channel divinity. Let's see what that if they change that much. Divine spark and turn undead. Use your channel divinity a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. That's good because they're switching a lot of things to your proficiency bonus. Normally it was twice a day. And I think paladins it was once a day. We'll take a look at that when those come out here in the coming months. You finish a long rest. Same thing as normal. There's your spell save DC. As a magic action. So that must be a different action coming on. Some of the action economy might be changing. So there might be like attack action, magic action. They might change those around to help with spells. Like it's really, some players don't realize that you cannot cast, you can cast multiple spells all around as long as the leveled spell is bonus action. Then you can cast a cantrip as one action for your normal action. Holy symbol. So it's just basically hit points or damage. So days, they're adding in some new conditions. You have all of the spells prepared. I guess would be just starting off. You know, I can start with Cure Wounds, Second Flame, Shield of Fate, Spear the Dying, and Thaumaturgy. Alternatively, of course, you can change those around yourself, but they have to be from the Divine Spell. So, of course, as normal with long rest, you can change your spells. Spell slots seem to be fairly much the same. Holy symbols, spellcasting focus is normal. Second level, you get Holy Order. Protector, Thaumaturge, and Scholar. So as a Protector, you get martial weapon proficiency and heavy armor. So it really doesn't matter if on your domain anymore. That's nice. So as a scholar, you can pick up 2 of Arcana, History, Nature, Persuasion, or Religion. Whenever you make an ability check using either skill, you gain a bonus to the check equal to your Wisdom modifier. So is that? It's going to be interesting to see if that's in addition to like Arcana, History, and Nature, and Religion are all intelligence-based skills, whereas Persuasion is charisma-based. So do you get both of those bonuses? So it's kind of like an expertise type of situation. Seems to be that would probably be what it is. You get the normal skill of the you get proficiency in both the skills normally, add normal bonuses to it, and then also add your wisdom modifier on top of it. So if you're a thaumaturge, you get an extra, you can prepare an extra cantrip, which they're calling 0 level spells. I'll have to try to get into the habit of using that term. And then you can also get back a use of your channel divinity whenever you finish a short rest. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, we'll look at the life domain here a little bit. Same thing at 3rd level, you get your subclass. Fifth level, Smite Undead. So not only are you turning them, but you're actually doing damage with them to them with your Smite Undead, which is pretty cool. I like that idea. It'd be interesting to see. Let me see if they describe the. Let's go back up here. Turning Undead. So one of the things that I've noticed about the 5th edition, as it is Clerics, is that your ability to destroy undead completely, you're leveling out classes that, because when you get high enough to where you can destroy like second 2-hit die undead, you're not facing 2-hit die undead, you're facing like 8-hit die undead. So Smite Undead, okay. Subclass feature plus strikes. Okay, so they actually put that as it for everything instead of an alternate like they have in Tasha's. So for your 0 level cantrip spells or your attack with your weapons, you can also deal extra radiant damage to the creature. Let's choose a second option from the Holy Order feature. That's pretty cool. Probably going to see lots of protectors and probably a mixture of scholar and thaumaturge. Be interesting to see what people play. That'll be fun. For the subclass, Force of Divine Intervention. Feed, subclass, feed. That's pretty cool. And of course, your epic boon, which we looked over a few of those last week. These are again just recommended spells for you to pick up, which is good for really good for new players to have some sort of guidance for this, what spells to pick up at what level and such. is the life domain. Describes what the life domain is. And of course, once you get to a certain level, as it is in 5th edition right now with your subclass, when you get to that level, you automatically have these spells prepared. They don't count against the number of spells you can prepare. So, Lesser Restoration and Prayer of Healing. 5th level Mass Healing or Revivify, or of Life and Death Ward, then Greater Restoration, Mass Cure Wounds. Those will always be prepared for you. Gains hit points on the turn you cast the spell. Additional 2 hit points. 2 plus the spell's level. So that's pretty much the same if your healing spells are proper like yourself. But that's interesting too when it specific says a spell slot. So if you're a life cleric and you're using something like like beads of prayer beads or something like that, it doesn't get your bonus. Or staff of healing doesn't get your bonus because you're not using a spell slot. Five times your cleric level. So you still, again, can't bring it up to more than half their maximum hit points. So you can't really use it again as it is now on healthy people, which is fine. Again, specifying the spell slot to get healing on yourself as well. So what they're doing is, if you notice here, when a spell you cast with a spell slot restores hit points to a creature, that creature regains additional hit points on the turn you cast the spell. So they are specifically targeting druid cleric spellcasters who use good berries to heal 4 points instead of 1. That specifically is ruled out now with that. See, so this wouldn't get it for good berry either if you're dual classing again as the cleric druid, because you're using spell slot on another creature to restore the hit points. So again, that cuts that out. A little crazy too, because I never really saw that as being a big problem. Supreme healing, so basically your healing's maximized. Oh, all right. So a couple of minor adjustments here and there with word clarity. So you have certain things that they are cutting out that you can't do anymore, which is okay. I mean, I for me as a DM, that is I always talk about myself as a player-oriented DM, storytelling DM. Been doing it for 40 years, and it just to me, it really doesn't matter what the characters have, what they're doing, because most of the time we're not playing, just straight combat all the way through. You're telling a story. They're enjoying the story. Their characters are the heroes in the story. And if they have something that gives them 4 hit points for taking a berry, that doesn't bother me. Most stuff doesn't bother me anyway, because there's no winning, regardless of what people think. There's no winning at D&D. It's just a lot of people sitting around playing a game, a collective storytelling game together, and making sure everyone has fun. So those types of things, to me, kind of reflects more of an issue that dungeon masters might be whining about, which they shouldn't be whining about, in my opinion, at least. Like I said, most of the stuff on our channel here on the Master of Dungeons Twitch channel is just my experiences in the many years that I've been doing this, the thousands of players I've ran games for, all of that. So, I mean, and I've gone through all of the stages too that all DMs eventually will go through as you're learning to be a dungeon master. You get into you're just a referee. Then you'll get into the thing of, well, you got to challenge the players, and lots of those types of games become very adversarial. Of course, everyone goes through that stage and eventually get to the point where you're just like, let's just run a game and let everyone have fun. And you get to the point where you are having fun yourself by just knowing that the players are having a good time. All right, so species. Let's go to The Ardlings, which, as we talked about, were animalistic versions of the kind of like almost Asimars in a way. They already mentioned they're not replacing Asimars. They're just bringing in the Ardlings. And they are, of course, upper plane creatures as well, or descendants of that, and they have animalistic uh, traits, as it were. Again, you can choose to be medium or small. All right, your head resembles that of the chosen animal. So you see the different ones. So you have climber, flyer, racer, swimmer. So that gives you a climb speed. This one doesn't allow them to fall, but really allows them to like glide or flap you with the wings to gain advantage on like a jump check. So I was talking with one of my client games last evening about the jump action. I'm really hoping they change that around a little bit in 5th edition because they have so many things that you can add to your jump, but it still comes down to the very at the end of that you can only jump so far depending on what your strength is. Oh my goodness, 10 times your proficiency bonus. Now, it doesn't go for your normal move action, but just your dash action. Interesting. Of course, the swim speed, hold your breath, resist the cold damage. Ooh. Thaumaturgy. And whenever you finish long rest, you can replace it with a different 0 level spell, cantrip. And you, of course, pick which spellcasting ability you want for it. That's cool. It's interesting. It's very interesting too, as they're so afraid of giving people a flying speed at 1st level or even in tier 1. It's just, I don't know. Now, as I mentioned a lot in the episodes here, I do run a lot of Adventurers League. Most of the stuff I run is Adventurers League, so it is rules as written. And it's just so odd how resistant they are to coming out with rules that basically inhibit the players. Okay, Dragonborn information. Understandable, you shouldn't be able to be a small Dragonborn. Get that. And they did change everyone's breath weapon to exact same 15-foot cone, or no, they changed it now back to this from the first stuff. So it's a 15-foot cone or a 30-foot line. They did increase it with your tiers, just like you would with cantrips, cantrip dice. Let's see here. Dark vision. Nice. Draconic flight. When you reach 5th level, you learn how to channel the magical energy of your draconic ancestry to give you temporary flight. Can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Interesting. Very cool. I do like that idea that Dragonborn be allowed to have some sort of flying ability like that. That's pretty sweet. I like that the flavor of looking like the energy that you use. Goliath, of course, featured prominently in Rime of the Frostbite, which was nice. Oh, they upped the speed to 35 feet for Goliath. Giant ancestry, you can use choose a benefits. Supernatural boon for your ancestry. You can use the chosen benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. We're getting all uses when you finish a long rest. Whoa. Clouds don't. It's kind of like the furball a little bit. Interesting. I do like how they, in older editions, you actually heard a lot more about the Goliaths being relatives of the giants. But they really didn't really do a whole lot of that discussion in 5th edition, which I love. They're coming back to the giant ancestry, which is great. We'll find out more, I guess, in August when the new giant book comes out. Frost chill, do cold damage, and reduce their speed. That's pretty cool. Knock something prone. It's interesting that they don't get a save for the Hills Tumble, because you just automatically knock them prone. Oh, they don't give everyone Stone's Endurance now. That's interesting. Trying at 5th level, you get the ability to master growth, so they're taking that away from the Runed Knight, it looks like. I do like that they provided you're in a big enough space. But it does not increase your damage. Powerful build, so everyone gets large form, everyone gets powerful build. Yeah. All right. It's an interesting change. I dig the whole concept of having them pick a different ancestry. So normally you would have Stone's Endurance, but if you want to forego that, and your character might be descended from different type of giants besides storm giants, with the mountain born and all that from the other Goliath from the previous 5th edition rules. You can actually customize them, which is pretty cool. All right, so some of the new feats, as we saw last week, you can take some feats are repeatable, but you can take them multiple times. They will have prerequisites now as well. Here's some of the epic boons also that are on here for the feats. Or some ability score improvement is now a feat now. It's not just something, it's not just an ASI that you get every 4 levels or whatever, depending on your class. They actually made it a feat. So now you can either choose that feat, which is repeatable, or you can take a different feat instead of making that like a variant rule. They're actually putting that as an actual rule in the game, which is really great. So epic boon of fate, major priest group. So there's the prerequisites. You have to be 20th level and be either one of the mage classes or the priest classes. I don't see that being as having to wait for 20th level for something like that. I don't know if I'd waste the 20th level feat on that. I don't know. Oh, that's pretty cool. Epic boon of spell recalls. Nice. True sight is pretty cool. I like that. Like, see that to me, that's way more powerful and be way more attractive to pick up as a 20th level character versus the epic boon of fate, which is just one another creature you can see. I mean, you can basically like give them wheel or woe, good luck or bad luck. But you can use it once, and you can't get it back until you either finish a short rest, finish a long rest, or until you roll initiative uh, the next time. So it's not as cool as having true sight out to a range of 60 feet all the time. Or even the epic boon of spell recall, the epic boon of fate. Hopefully, like I said, I haven't seen any of the feedback from any of the player surveys, but this does kind of seem weak to me, especially compared to the other ones. Especially this one not having a spell slot. I mean, what is a mass cure wounds 5th level? All right, so here's some of the other terms that are changed. Ability check. They're changing it back to 20 D20 tests, or someone somewhere really wants to put the D20 tests in there. skills, some new abilities like hide and influence, different actions that are called now. DCs are pretty much the same. They did add a very easy, which if a DC is 5, there's pretty much no reason for you to even have to have a player make a check. This it's just kind of I don't know, ridiculous. I think anyway. Lots of times, I don't even if a check's like easy, let's say just make a simple check for me. Especially when they're higher level, it's really hard for them to fail. Especially since they took away the natural 1 automatically failing for every D20 test, as it were. And the nearly impossible tests are not nearly impossible once you get to higher levels. Once you get into tier 3 and tier 4, there are players that will easily make DC 30 checks fairly often. New version of the aid spell. Okay. 5 so they added temporary hit points now instead. Well, that needs to change. Because there's so many things that give you temporary hit points. Unless they change the rules where temporary hit points actually stack, that makes aid pointless. Because a lot of people would use higher level aid spells to bolster hit points for lower level characters. And then on top of that, like you have your Twilight clerics that can give temporary hit points every round with their auras and such. That makes an aid spell pointless because they don't stack. You take whatever's the highest. All right, all the cantrips and spells. This is all the arcane list of spells. Obviously, they're going to have more arcane. It's going to be interesting now that sorcerers and wizards can use the hex spell. What was the... Okay, there we go. Spells, School of Magic is different from what in the handbook. Okay, so the little asterisk means they changed them, which is understandable. Dancing lights should be illusion. What else did they change here? Thunderwave is transmutation. I can see that. Just adjusting that a little bit. You're changing something. Changing the air about for the Thunderwave. Changing condition on someone being able to see or hear. Get that. Totally understand that. It'd be interesting with the school. Yeah, Flaming Sphere, could definitely see that being a vocation. It'd be interesting also to see once they come out with the rules for the schools of magic, if they're going to have that still as the wizards, if you're going to be selecting it, or if they're just going to change those over and get rid of the schools of magic, which is going to be interesting if they do, because I mean, like I said, I didn't play a lot of 4th edition. I really kind of played a couple sessions and went back to 3.5. But I'm pretty sure that pretty much every class or every edition of D&D has had specialists, starting with the illusionist in the Unearthed Arcana original books back in Advanced D&D. All right, so there's a big old list of spells to go through. All right, so here's some of the new things here. Armor training, name for armor proficiency. Yeah, sometimes just don't comprehend the concept of changing just a term. It's the same thing, and they just want to change the term. Yes, they did change all of the tools, artisan's tools, to 15 gold apiece. You can equip or unequip one weapon before or after each attack you make as part of the action, even if the attack is with an unarmed strike. That's pretty much the same thing. New version of Banishment. Okay, so charisma save or be transported to a harmless demi-plane for the duration. So before they were banished back to their original plane if they weren't from the prime material. Now they have to be concentrated on for a full minute. And if they are a specific creature type, then they don't return or instead transport to a random location on the plane associated with this creature type. Oh no. Bark skin. Oh well, we'll see if bark skin, if it makes it to where people even use it. Regenerating bark. What? Interesting. Gain some tip hit points, which really won't work if you're using aid. I guess you can use the aid tip hit points first and then regain other tip hit points. Blind size. Interesting. Climb speed, okay. And talk about the creature types, which they talked about the first, I believe the first Unearthed Arcana playtest material. Yeah, this whole, you know, it always seems to me that when some of these changes come out, it seems that there's one of the designers or a newer designer that's come into the group that's helping work on it wants to add their house rule into the game. It's like forcing DMs to use inspiration. I use it all the time. I use it all the time. My players get it, often use it. I don't, they don't hoard it. I make sure that they don't hoard it. It's supposed to be, I use it as a storytelling element of the game. But some DMs don't like it and trying to force it into a rule. Obviously, if you're not playing AL, if you're just playing homebrew, you can just ignore some of the rules, obviously, too. Dazed. Interesting. I do kind of like that. Kind of giving definitions of difficult terrain. The divine spell list. Okay, exhausted, levels of exhaustion. So now it's 10 levels of exhaustion now instead of 6. So it used to be a long rest would get rid of all of your exhaustion. It does not do so now. I like that. Now it's going to saves now instead of a contested check. Guidance. So now it's the reactions. You can't give them to them ahead of time. You can only use it as a reaction if they fail an ability check. Did it stop the confusion of concentration where they do have guidance is a concentration spell in 5th edition as it is now? Here's the help action. Yeah, I like this. I do like this assisted ability check because I have a lot of players that are like, well, they want to assist another player with picking a lock. And I like that it says the DM has a final say on whether your assistance is possible because it's really difficult to help someone pick a lock because the person's up there with the lock picks. You know, it's a really small little area. You can't really, maybe you could make an argument for assisting verbally, especially like if the character is a higher level character than the other one. That might influence what my decision would be, but still pretty much the same thing to give advantage on their next attack roll. And now they're changing, and now before with heroic inspiration, I guess maybe that's different from inspiration. They just changed the name of it. It's kind of again a needless thing to do. But now it looks as if you give yourself advantage on a d20 test and you decide to do it after rolling the d20. So you don't have to. In 5th edition, the rule is now that if you want to use your inspiration, you have to declare it before you roll the die 20. That was what gives you advantage. Advantage means you roll 2 dice and take the highest. This actually wording says you give yourself advantage when it's not really giving you advantage because you're not rolling 2 at the beginning. You're just, oops, I rolled once and I didn't like the roll, so I'm going to roll a second die. Almost like a reroll, and then just take the highest of the 2. And of course, the same rule always applies. The DM can give heroic inspiration anytime they want. Of course, you can only have one. Rules on hidden. Condition. I like that. Yeah, they're making this a little bit more. My initial, again, most of these things are only just my initial reactions. Obviously, if I think about it later, I might have come to some other conclusion. But a lot of, especially as I mentioned, doing Adventures League, a lot of DMs and players don't realize that in 5th edition rules as it is, when someone makes a stealth check to hide, um, whatever they hit is basically the DC for the passive perception of the monsters. So if someone rolls a stealth check of 25, then unless something has or actively looking for them, they can attempt to make that check, or if their passive perception is just a passive, like say for example, a rogue makes a stealth check and only rolls a 13. Well, creatures that have a passive perception of 12 or less can't see them. Anyone that has a passive perception of 13 or higher knows that they're there. And this is just making a simple test while you're heavily obscured behind three-quarters cover, total cover, which I can see that because you do see a lot of, there do happen to be a lot of players that kind of try to stretch that rule, which is not that big of a deal, but like pass hid, disadvantage, okay, influence. Can only be used when creature controlled by the DM and isn't mind control. It can't force a creature to do something that's calculus alignment or otherwise repugnant to the creature. I kind of bring back the attitude, which is nice because that was something that was really big in earlier editions of Dungeons and Dragons, where the characters could influence when they came upon monsters and stuff like that. They might not be hostile when they first encounter them. Just, you see someone walk up to you, you automatically don't think they're hostile to you. They might be indifferent at the very beginning. Okay. So you have interaction. So you have influence. We take the influence action. Mm-hmm. A lot of times too, it's at least the practices, which is really great because of just allow the characters to choose what skill they want to use, like and describe how they're using it, giving them a little bit more agency in playing their character instead of just trying to hold them to a specific rule because it's in the book. I'm not really a big fan of these setting these default DCs because of the fact that it's going to make it definitely very difficult for lower level characters, very simple and easy for higher level characters. Invisible. Okay, let's see what they have for jump now. And then again, it also can't exceed your speed. So things that are going to like change your jumping, stuff like that, that still doesn't change. You can't jump farther than your speed, which kind of like boots of strutting and spring, rings of jumping, those are supposed to kind of break that rule. So hopefully when they put this in there, we'll say with this ability, you can jump longer than what your speed is. Light weapons. So changing that, like if you're fighting with two weapon fighting, basically, it used to be in fifth edition as it stands now. You take your attack action, you attack with your light weapon, and then as a bonus action, you can attack with the other light weapon. And they've dropped that now, so that just means that when you take the attack action, you swing with your normal weapon, and then you can attack with the light weapon in the other hand as part of the same action, so it doesn't count as a bonus action now as it stands. From again, these are all playtest rules. I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen the survey results or any of that to see what they're changing and anything of that nature. But still, it's the same thing. Even when it was a bonus action, uh, it was you still wouldn't add your strength or dex mod to the rule. and explanations of all of that. Magic. Okay, magic action. My apologies if you hear my wife's TikTok in the background. She's watching TikTok there instead of back in the other room. Yep, and a few other definitions fell out there. All right, well, that's interesting stuff. Some of the different spells, different lists of primal skills or primal spells as well. Different some new spell discussions, ritual casting. Um, Special features no longer required for ritual casting. That's interesting. Um, that allows rangers and paladins to cast rituals now, which is really cool. Barbarians, some of them were allowed to cast things as rituals specifically in their abilities, but that's pretty cool for that as well. So, all right, well, there's a few other things here, probably nothing major here. That was the third playtest material for the Cleric and Species for One D&D. I believe the next one we'll do next week as well. I think there's two more that have come out since they'll probably have some more coming out probably here at the beginning of July for some more playtest material. And of course, we'll go over that until, of course, we find our permanent co-host for our Tavern Talks, the Shifting Boar on Wednesdays. Tomorrow we will have from 2 to 4, and Friday from 2 to 4 we will have our dungeon delving. We're playing Lord of the Rings online. Then, of course, we will be back on Sunday with our live play. Again, apologies to those that were ready to tune in this past Sunday. We were out of the internet here at my house, and Otter was having some internet issues as well. So we unfortunately had to postpone, but we will be back next Sunday for Masterpiece Imbroglio Part 2, Fifth Level Adventure from the Keys from the Golden Vault. You can definitely find our schedule up here on our Twitch channel as well, down below. And of course, once we're done streaming, our schedule is up there as well. First, also thanks to all of our supporters, especially our patrons from Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, please consider becoming a patron or subbing here on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Master of Dungeons. The link to our Patreon page, as well as all of our social media accounts, can be found in the About Us section here below on Twitch with the Linktree link there. Subscribe to us if you can on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Give us some likes, retweets, all of that good stuff. Every sub, like, and share does help us immensely. And as mentioned, you can also support us by clicking on the About Us section below and join the Master of Dungeons community Discord server, where you can help shape a caring, inclusive, and accepting community. We do have a merch store is up and running now. That link is below here on Twitch as well. And of course, tips are always welcome, but never expected and not expected in any way. But thanks everyone for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy adventuring. Take care.